Good morning, I'm Gabriella, and this is the plane I selected for my project, the F-16IN Super Viper. I chose this plane mostly because of the missiles under its wings here, which gave me some very interesting shapes to work with and ensured that my project would be a blast. Yeah, you get it? Okay. So, you can see here in the control points where I pulled the surface up to reflect the missile shapes. And I also created spheres in the center to represent the plane's wheels at touchdown. And the missile shapes created some difficulties when I was CNC milling it, because some of the curves would not properly accentuate the shape. They diminished it, and so that was one of the biggest challenges I faced when creating my custom curves. How do I create a curve that follows all of the different curves that I created in my NURB surface and best shows them off to the viewer? It also created some issues in my triangulation model, where if you look at number 3 of the figures, there's very tiny triangles all along the edges, and I had to eradicate those and simplify them into a way that would make fabrication feasible and not leave me folding triangles for the rest of my life. And this folding triangle thing is what allowed me to create this roof surface for my initial concept, which was a ballroom with a skylight facing the earth on the moon surface. I used the triangulated surface and bent it to create the general roof form. And then I looked up some research. I looked at skylights and atriums, but my biggest research source of inspiration was Calatrava's Tenerife Opera House. I really loved the forms it created and the quick shapes of it, and that was reflected in my first iterations, where I tried to create these petals that would wrap around the building, and I tried to recreate these quick shapes and quick forms, but the shapes became too complicated in these iterations. I used too many tools and it was nearly impossible to fabricate, and so I had to move on to my second iterations and start over from scratch, which you'll see in this video. In my second set of iterations, I reverted back to the very basics of the project, beginning with just the outline of my manipulated NURB surface. Instead of doing as I did in the first set of iterations and trying to create complicated forms through the use of multiple tools, I decided in this set to explore the possibilities within the uses of a single tool. And so, by putting a line through the center here, I'm able, through the use of record history, to explore the possibilities of the patch tool in an easily maneuverable way. Now, by using these markers in the center, I create a measured way to test different heights in the surface. Putting on the control points of the line here, I can change the way the surface. Alright, well, I'm going to move on to the next slide just because there isn't enough time. So, if this will let me scroll down. Okay, so my second set of iterations, as you could see in the video, I played around with simpler forms, and that lent itself to my new concept, while in keeping with the skylight, which was using very simple gestures to create really dynamic shapes and really represent this idea of something that's as large as life, and to sort of emphasize how small humanity is in comparison with the earth. And these quick forms were difficult to fabricate in the laser cut. I had to split up the shapes from the skylight and the walkways in one material and the body in another, and it created some issues while I was laser cutting when I had fun with the acetate that I originally tried to use for the glass. The vacuum would suck up the plastic and bring it close to the laser, burn through it. It would cut in the wrong shape. I had to stop the laser every few minutes to collect triangles, and it was a bit of a disaster. And so I decided to restart with taking the shapes and offsetting triangles within them to create the frame you can see here on the model that I'm holding in reality, where it created a framework to represent the glass rather